In 1968, Pan Am opened a waiting list for commercial flights to the moon. Not a joke. 90,000 people signed up. A real list, with real names and real addresses, for a company that had absolutely no idea how to get there. They just believed, if anyone's going to pull this off, it's these guys. White gloves, first transatlantic routes, first commercial jets, the whole thing. The company that was booking seats to the moon went bankrupt because it couldn't handle competition on the New York-London run. That's really all you need to know about the distance between greatness and reality. Today, 10 stories about that distance. Companies that were first, biggest, untouchable, that had everything except one thing: the understanding that greatness doesn't come with an expiration date. The market doesn't know that. The market doesn't care. You're watching Academic Troll, the right place for people who want to understand the world and not die of boredom doing it. Like, subscribe, let's go. Kodak, How to Bury Your Own Future. 1975. Kodak engineer Steven Sasson walks into a meeting with a device he built himself. An ugly 4-kilogram box, takes 23 seconds per shot, quality roughly on par with a parking garage security camera. But it's the world's first digital camera. Management looks at it, studies it, exchanges glances, and says, "Steven, very interesting. Put that away and please don't show it to anyone." Not because they were stupid, quite the opposite. Kodak's business in 1975 was film. A third of all photographic film on the planet. The digital camera wasn't threatening a competitor, it was threatening them. And that changes everything. They classified the patent, locked the invention in a drawer, and went back to printing film. Think of it like an oil company that invents a solar panel, quietly buries it in a cabinet, and goes back to drilling. While Kodak was guarding its film, the entire world moved to digital. Without them, around them, right over them. In 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. The inventor of digital photography destroyed by the technology it invented, and spent 20 years hiding from the world. Sit with that for a second. Nokia. We know what our customers want. Early 2000s, Nokia is essentially a force of nature. 1 in every 3 phones on Earth, and in Finland, its share of national exports hit 25%. Not of the tech sector, of all exports. One company. Engineers inside develop a touchscreen and bring the prototype to leadership. This is where the world is going. Leadership responds, "Users don't want a touchscreen. Users love buttons. We've done the research. We know our customer." They didn't. People in focus groups tell you the truth about what they already have, not about what they'd want next. Nokia asked, got the answer about buttons, and believed it. In January 2007, Steve Jobs walked on stage with the iPhone. Nokia's reaction was dismissive. Too big, too confident, too long undefeated to seriously entertain the idea of losing. Like a chess grandmaster being told a computer plays better. First he laughs, then he doesn't laugh anymore. The executive who signed the papers selling Nokia's mobile division to Microsoft said at the farewell press conference, "We didn't do anything wrong, and we still lost." Probably the most honest epitaph in business history, and the most frightening, because if you didn't do anything wrong, it means doing things right is no longer enough. Blockbuster. They offered us Netflix for $50 million. 2000. 2 people walk into Blockbuster's headquarters. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, founders of a small DVD by mail startup called Netflix. Asking price? $50 million. By Blockbuster standards, roughly the equivalent of a rounding error. The chain was pulling $6 billion a year across 9,000 stores worldwide. Leadership listened and laughed. By some accounts, literally. The two were walked to the door with barely concealed amusement. Here's what made it structural, not just arrogant. Blockbuster's entire profit engine ran on late fees, around $800 million a year. Netflix was building a model with none of that. No fees, no stores, no friction. It targeted the exact moment every customer hated, that sinking feeling of knowing you already owe money before you've even returned the thing. But when late fees are keeping the lights on, you can't just decide to stop collecting them. Blockbuster eventually caught on, launched online, killed the fees, started competing seriously. By some estimates, it was winning. But the creditors ran out of patience before the strategy could close. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Netflix is now worth over $200 billion. The last surviving Blockbuster sits in Bend, Oregon. People make special trips to photograph the sign. A museum of someone else's laughter. Free admission. Xerox invented everything, noticed nothing. In 1970, Xerox opens a research center in Palo Alto, the famous Park. Best engineers in the country, unlimited budget, one instruction. Think about the future. Over the next few years, Park invents the graphical user interface, windows, folders, icons, the mouse, Ethernet, the laser printer, and builds the first personal computer where all of it works as a single system. The mouse you're possibly using right now, the folders on your desktop, all of it. One building in California, funded by a company that sold copy machines. In 1979, a young Steve Jobs visits Park. They show him everything. By his own account, he couldn't believe Xerox didn't understand what it had. He walked in like a tourist and left like an heir. Back at Apple, first the Lisa, then the Macintosh, then the rest of the industry followed. Xerox went back to selling photocopiers. Personal computers were niche, not their market. The money was in copiers, and it was good money, right now, which is a sentence that ends a lot of companies. Here's what separates Xerox from everyone before it in this list. They weren't afraid, and they weren't in denial. They saw exactly what they built. They just decided it wasn't their problem. And indifference turned out to be more expensive than fear. MySpace. Bought something alive? Turned it into a billboard. MySpace in 2006 is the most visited site in America, ahead of Google, 100 million users, a genuine cultural phenomenon. Bands broke here, celebrities talked to fans directly. Every page looked different, loud, garish, completely alive. The internet with a personality. Rupert Murdoch buys it for $580 million. Murdoch made his fortune in newspapers and television, industries built around controlling what people see and when they see it. He looks at MySpace and sees a very large screen, so he starts filling it with ads. New management monetizes, optimizes, standardizes, ads everywhere. Interface slows down, every decision made by people who would never have had a MySpace account themselves. You can always tell when that's happening. It's like a restaurant where the chef stopped eating out. Meanwhile, Zuckerberg is building Facebook. Clean, fast, no autoplay music, no banner seizures. In 2011, MySpace sells for $35 million, 16 times less than Murdoch paid. He later called the acquisition a complete disaster, the one thing literally everyone agrees on. The lesson isn't about advertising. It's about what happens when you buy a culture and immediately start replacing it with your own. Yahoo, 3 forks in the road, wrong turn every time. This story is best told in numbers. Just sit with each one. 1998, 2 Stanford grad students offer to sell Yahoo their search algorithm for $1 million. Yahoo, the largest internet portal in the world, declines. They're building a media destination, not a search engine. The students are Larry Page and Sergey Brin. $1 million. For Google. No thanks. 2002, Yahoo watches what Google has become and offers $3 billion to buy it. Brin and Page start negotiating. Yahoo decides $3 billion is the ceiling, stands up, and walks out. 2008, Microsoft offers to buy Yahoo for $44 billion. Leadership calls it an undervaluation, stalls, and passes. The company is worth more. It'll figure things out. 2017, Yahoo sells to Verizon for $4.8 billion. Not 44, not 3, less than 5. There's nothing left to add. The numbers already said it. 3 times. Pan Am, selling tickets to the moon. In the golden age of aviation, Pan Am wasn't just an airline, it was an idea about the future. First transatlantic commercial routes, first commercial jets. The terminal at JFK was so striking that people came to look at it without buying a ticket. The moon wait list was just the logical extension. Of course, Pan Am would be the one to get there first. Then came the oil crisis, and with it, carriers with a ruthlessly simple proposition. Get people from A to B. No ceremony, no silver trays, just cheaper. Pan Am watched from altitude. A company booked to the moon wasn't about to compete on price with someone who discovered you don't have to feed the passengers. The world decided flying was transportation, not theater. What followed was less a collapse than an accumulation. Deregulation in 1978 opened the market to competition Pan Am wasn't built for. Lockerbie in 1988 destroyed the one thing a premium carrier needs more than anything, the feeling of safety. The Gulf War drained what was left. December 1991. Gone. They were so focused on the moon they didn't notice the ground. That's the specific disease. When your self-image is large enough, ordinary problems start to look like other people's problems. Sears forgot that they invented Amazon. In 1888, Sears launches a mail-order catalog, thousands of products delivered to your door, including, famously, pre-cut, pre-drilled home building kits. You'd order a house, it would arrive, you'd assemble it. People did this. The logic was elegant. Remove the store from the transaction entirely. Browse at home, order, receive, which is Amazon, minus the internet and about a century of lead time. Bezos took the Sears model, put it online, and removed the illustration of the armoire from the cover. By mid-century, Sears is the largest retailer in America, building the tallest skyscraper in the world. Then it slowly forgets what it was built on. The catalog shuts down in 1993. Outdated, leadership decides. The future is physical retail. This happens approximately 5 years before the internet makes catalog delivery not just relevant, but dominant. When Amazon started winning, Sears had every reason to say, "We did this for 100 years. We have the logistics, the brand, the customer trust. We move online." Instead, it pursued mergers, tried competing store for store with more agile rivals, and lost ground it was never going to recover. In 2018, Sears filed for bankruptcy. Your worst enemy isn't who copied your idea. It's the version of yourself that forgot you had it first. Motorola invented the industry, became a footnote in it. 1973, Motorola engineer Martin Cooper walks onto a Manhattan street and calls his competitor at Bell Labs from a mobile phone, just to tell him they got there first. Clean. The first mobile call in history made to the person most annoyed to receive it. The next 2 decades, Motorola owns the category. Dynatac, then the StarTAC, the flip phone that made people want a phone as an object, not just as a tool. If you had one in the mid-90s, you remember the specific satisfaction of snapping it shut. That snap was Motorola at its peak, the moment a piece of technology felt like jewelry. Then the Razr, impossibly thin, the kind of object that made you reach into your pocket just to hold it. Motorola knew, better than anyone alive, how to make you fall in love with a device. Then the internal machinery seized. Bureaucracy, turf wars, engineering and management operating as separate civilizations that had stopped speaking the same language. That's survivable until someone outside starts moving faster than your org chart allows. The iPhone arrives in 2007. Motorola's response is the polite skepticism of people who know phones better than anyone, which is precisely why they can't see that what Jobs is holding isn't a phone. It's a computer that happens to make calls. Different category, different war. Motorola brought a StarTAC to a software fight. Google buys Motorola in 2012 for $12 billion, mostly for the patents. Sells it to Lenovo 2 years later for $3. When Cooper made that first call, he was standing at the summit. He just couldn't see how short the plateau was. Radio Shack left their people, never found new ones. In the 80s, Radio Shack is a place of pilgrimage for a specific kind of person, the kind who builds things. Soldering irons, resistors, capacitors, antennas, components for projects that didn't exist yet. Staff who could diagnose your broken device and help you fix it rather than replace it. It wasn't a store. It was a clubhouse with a cash register. Then leadership looked at the numbers and saw a problem. The audience was too narrow, so they pivoted. Phones, accessories, store credit cards pitched at the checkout counter. In a store where people came specifically for resistors. It's like a hardware store deciding to sell perfume to broaden its appeal. The builders leave. The perfume buyers go somewhere with better lighting. Nobody wins. Radio Shack fell through the gap between two identities. Too far from one to go back, not far enough into the other to survive. First bankruptcy 2015. Second, 2017. 2 bankruptcies isn't a streak of bad luck. It's a decision that got made twice.
The timing makes it particularly brutal. Right through those years, the maker movement was exploding. Arduino, Raspberry Pi, 3D printing, DIY everything. A generation of people who build things for fun, who wanted exactly what Radio Shack used to sell, who had more disposable income than the original audience ever did. The store that served them went bankrupt twice while they were looking for it. Radio Shack didn't lose its market. It fired its market, went looking for a different one, found nothing, and came back to discover the original crowd had moved on. That's not a tragedy of timing. That's a self-inflicted wound, administered slowly, over years, by people who mistook their customers for a problem to be solved.
What we are left with, 10 companies, 10 industries, 10 different ways to lose, but the same thing underneath all of them. At some point, each one started defending what it had built instead of asking what it should build next. That's not stupidity. It's not even failure of vision. It's gravity. Every success pulls you back toward what worked, what's proven, what's already generating revenue. The market doesn't factor that in. The market asks one question: why do you matter today? And it asks it every single day, whether you're ready to answer or not. If the answer lives only in the past, that's already an obituary, just not published yet.